Today, let us give a ears to Thailand-Cambodia temple conflict, a clash of borders, heritage, and geopolitics. Centuries-old temples have become modern-day battlegrounds as Thailand and Cambodia spiral into yet another bloody border conflict. At the heart of the chaos, land legacy and lost diplomacy. What is the Thailand Cambodia dispute about? The roots of this bitter standoff lie not in the present but in the colonial past. The Thailand Cambodia border dispute is anchored in different interpretations of the early 20th century French Indochina era maps. The key flashpoints, if we have to look at the flashpoints, the 11th and 12th century Hindu temples of Prayabihar and Tam. Both nations consider these ancient sites as symbols of cultural identity. Yet in 1962, the International Court of Justice ruled that Prayabihar belonged to Cambodia, a decision Thailand grudgingly accepted. They had to, although they never wanted to. But trouble did not end there. In 2013, the ICJ reaffirmed Cambodia's ownership but left the surrounding territory, including strategic access roads and adjacent hills, vaguely defined. It was not clearly demarcated. The ambiguity fuels today's fire. So, what happens when temples become front lines? What began as a legal dispute has now turned deadly. In May 2025, a Cambodian soldier was killed in a minor skirmish. What followed was a dangerous escalation. By July 2025, both nations had exchanged artillery shells, rocket fire, and even airstrikes. Thailand reportedly used F-16 fighter jets in retaliatory action. Cambodia responded with heavy artillery barrages across the border. So far, 14 to 16 people have died, with hundreds displaced from villages near the conflict zone. Global reactions have been swift. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session. The US, EU, France, and China have all urged immediate de escalation. But tensions continue to rise. And so does the risk of this local conflict exploding into a regional crisis. Why Thailand won't accept the ICJ's verdict? Thailand's objection to the ICJ ruling isn't about the temple itself, but the land around it. Bangkok claims that the ICJ failed to demarcate adjacent territory, especially the ridge lines and access points that are strategically important. Thai officials argue that these ambiguities give them a legal claim. But geopolitics complicates the picture. Thailand's internal instability has weakened its diplomatic hand. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatра's suspension has opened the door for military hardliners to assert more aggressive tactics. Thailand insists that the matter must be resolved bilaterally, not through international courts, a position that gives it more room to maneuver militarily and politically. And this cultural and religious heritage is under fire. This isn't just a territorial dispute, it's a cultural tragedy in the making. The temples in question are sacred Hindu shrines revered for over a millennium. Prabihar, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is considered one of Southeast Asia's architectural gems. Cross-border rocket fire has reportedly damaged the outer sanctums, and archaeological peripheries of these temples are at risk now. This is more than stone and mortar. It's about identity, pride, and spiritual heritage for both Thais and Cambodians. Turning these temples into war zones risks turning shared heritage into shared trauma. And now, what is China doing and not saying? China has publicly urged peaceful dialogue, calling for calm through ASEAN frameworks. But behind the scenes, Beijing may be positioning itself as a power broker. Both Thailand and Cambodia are part of the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), A prolonged conflict gives China an opportunity to expand infrastructure projects under the guise of peace building. They can deepen bilateral ties with both sides, present itself as an alternative to Western mediation. China may appear neutral, but it stands to gain strategically from Asia this unity while also undermining Western diplomatic influence in the region. We all know about China's strategy. Why should India be concerned now? This isn't just a Asian problem. It may soon become India's strategic concern because it has security risk. The conflict threatens the Asian security architecture, a pillar of India's Act East policy. And cultural affront, the damage to Hindu temples could stir public sentiment in India, prompting calls for protection of global Hindu heritage. And what about the geopolitical shifts? If the US or China escalates involvement, India may be forced to reposition diplomatically, especially in forums like the Mekong Ganga Cooperation or BIMSTEC. And of course, there is the part of economic fallout. Disruption in the region can jeopardize trade corridors, including India's vision for the IMEC, that is India Middle East Europe corridor, and its Look East trade policy. Now, can centuries old monuments survive the fury of modern nationalism? Will regional pride always overpower international law in Asia? Is China's call for peace a prelude to greater control? What happens when sacred heritage becomes a strategic pawn? And should India take a stronger cultural and diplomatic stance before it is too late? As the borders burn and ancient stones crumble, the world watches, not just for peace, but for what kind of world order will emerge from these ruins. Will heritage heal or haunt the region? That remains the question. For more updates, keep watching The Global Eye.